This is Twit.
What exactly is a re-recording mixer? What do they do? Marty, why don't you start us off?
That's a good question, Scott. That comes from the days when we had tape, and we had all the elements on tape, and we were recording to another tape machine, be it a mag machine or a multitrack, and that's where the term re-recording came into play.
And of course now we don't use tape. I mean, does anybody use tape anymore?
Very few. It's very hard to get, and there really isn't any more sonic advantages to it.
Right. So we're really talking digital, but the name stuck, as it so often does in this business, an archaic name for something that you do now with totally different tools. And Chris, you're also a sound designer. Why don't you give us a little outline of what that job entails?
Well, there's many jobs in post-production for sound for film and television. There's various forms of editing, sound effects, sound design. Sound design generally means creating sounds from scratch for something that you see on screen, maybe something we haven't heard before, something that's made up, spaceships or laser guns or whatever. But it can be very subtle things as well, just creating the perfect door close that gives a mood to a scene or punctuates a scene and so on.
Right. So it's a pretty creative job. You're also a musician, aren't you, Chris?
Sometimes. Used to be. I don't play as much anymore, but
yeah, I'm afraid I know that story.
Took over my life,
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
He's very, very talented, by the way. Very, very talented.
I have no doubt of that. I've certainly heard some of the results in the demo that I saw at your studio, and that's really why I wanted you on the show. Was that you invited me over to your studio, which is your blocks from my house, which is great. To hear a demonstration of a 3D sound system called Auro. And we're going to talk quite a bit about Auro. But before we do, I wanted to ask you, I noticed in the photographs that you have on your website, there are a couple of Emmys, which are proudly displayed. What'd you get those for?
I've been a re-recording mixer for the last 34 years, and I started off years ago, actually in 1980, and mixing everything myself. In other words, I did dialogue, music effects, and mixed it all together. Later on, I went and got a job over at, back in 1991, a job at Sony Pictures sound department. And at Sony Pictures, I was working in television mainly at the time, and I was mixing a show called Mad About You with Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. And I've been mixing surround. My first surround gig was back in 1982, and I fell in love with it back then. And then when I moved over to Sony, every show that I did on television, we ended up mixing in surround. And the Mad About You episodes that I won 2 Emmys for were one of the very first shows that were done on a weekly basis in surround.
So that's a perfectly worthwhile reason to award Emmys. Would be this technological advance moving from stereo to mixing in surround, which now I believe virtually all TV is done, right?
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, yeah.